Hello, everyone. I think we can start the events. I just started the recording, so let's go. So, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar, PhD grads, how to succeed in your job search. Thanks for joining us today. I am Nouhan Bouznif. I'm in charge of the UBFC Alumni Network. And if you're not familiar with this network, let me say a few words about it. So it's a free professional social network, and it's dedicated to master students, PhD students, and graduates. On the website, you can find information, advice, and tools that are useful for your PhD and also your career. So we encourage you to join the network. And for example, you can find a career center with job offers, and you can also post your CV online on a CV library that is visited by recruiters. And we regularly organize online events for PhD students and PhD grads. And this morning, I am pleased to host a webinar from our partner FI Match, or FI Match in French. FI Match is a headhunting department of the FI Group, and it's dedicated to delivering the best talent candidates for French company in the research, development, and innovation sector. And FI Match also offers support to young researchers in pursuing their career and promoting their skills. Today, I'm happy to welcome Sylvaine Lugni, who is FI Match Manager and who will hold today's webinar. And before Sylvaine starts her presentation, I just want to give you some information. So we are together for about 2 hours. The webinar is being recorded, and the video will be available in a few days on the Alumni Network. And I will also send the video to you by email. Please don't forget to turn off your webcams, sorry, and your microphones to avoid interference in the video. And we encourage you to write down your question in the chat box. You have a little chat area in Teams. And so, yes, write your questions and comments, and Sylvaine will answer them during her presentation during the question time. I'll now give the floor to Sylvaine, and I wish you a good webinar. Oh, we can't hear you, Sylvaine.
Thank you,
Thank
Nouhan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning to share our thoughts again with this presentation. Should I just share it again? Oops. Here we go. So it's I think we eight people participating so far, so it's very intimate. So I would say feel free to ask any questions. I'd be really happy to answer them as we go. Basically, so just to introduce myself a little bit more. So I'm Sylvaine Lugni. I'm the talent acquisition manager from the department FI Match. FI Match is like a headhunting department, so looking for the best talent when a client, when a company, a client asks us to find according to their needs. We're part of FI Group. FI Group is a consulting firm, and the aim of the consulting firm is to advise French companies on how to develop their R&D department using all the credits and all the support that the French government can provide. So that's for the introduction about ourselves. So today, we're going to talk about PhD grades and how to succeed in your job search. And we've created this presentation with in 3 parts. So the first part is really when you've decided, to look for your next job, the first step is really to create a catchy profile, and that will be with as a student. So, and there's two ways to do that. There's two main elements. The first one, obviously, is your CV, your resume, and the other one is your online presence. So, how people can see you online. The idea of this session is really to give you a few tips on how to present yourself the best way, highlight the key points that will make you shine and differentiate from the others. Once this is done, basically you've created your deliverables. You're going to start, you will need to have a strategy to look for your job. And that's really key. You really need to think forward before starting and selecting opportunities. You need to take time to define the correct criteria that are important for you. It's basically like doing a state of the art of the market that's in front of you to see where you want to go before you apply. And you start applying. And then the last step, obviously, is when you've applied, you've been selected, and now you're going to meet the key people within the company of your choice. And basically, we're going to give you a few tips there on what are the basics and how you can make the best use of your time doing these interviews. So so far, is the part really clear for you? Has anybody have any questions about it? No questions?
So far, I can't see any question in the chat right now, but
no
I will
question
tell
yet.
you if
Okay.
I see any.
Yeah. Well, that's quite clear, I think, what the steps are. So basically, I'm going to stop at the end of each part. So if you have any specific questions, then I can answer them straight away. Otherwise, there will be also a Q&A sessions at the end of the presentation. So we'll be more open to discuss when you've got the full story. So here I am, Sylvaine Lugni. So just to introduce myself a bit more, I've been working in the talent acquisition industry for more than 15 years. Before that, I was holding operational responsibilities in various companies from IBM, AT&T, and then went into the recruitment side of things, which I love because it's really a great place to be. A little bit more on FEMatch too. FEMatch was created in 2019, so slightly before COVID. And the idea from our company, from the consulting firm, FE Group, was really to help our clients find their best talent, because the two worlds were not really communicating very well. And the companies didn't know how to approach PhDs. And we found out that the PhDs didn't really know how to approach companies. And each world was a little bit afraid of the difference between them. So FEMatch was created with this aim to help both sides understand each other and go towards go forward. So the first part is create a catchy candidate profile. And basically that's how to write a resume. So here's the first slide that's really important there. So what do I want to say here? You've got the CV on the right, and the key thing to understand when you write your CV, this is one example first. I'm going to say this is not the perfect CV. It's one of them, and it's one that works. And we're using it to show, to explain to you the key components we'd like to see on a CV. When you write your CV, you need to think about the person that's going to read your CV, how the person is going to interact. This is the first piece of information the person will, the recruiter will see from you. So it says a lot. So keep that in mind. It needs to represent how you structure yourself and how you want to be seen. Key informations, obviously, you've got, how to be contacted. So basically your name, you can have your mobile number if you want, you don't have to. If you have your mobile number, be ready to get a call out of the loop, and then your voicemail needs to be a professional one. If you don't want that, then keep it quiet maybe and just have your email there. Same about the age. This is an information. We've put it there. It's up to you. Really no specific rules on there. Very important is the title. What you want is who you are, and basically not only who you are, but what job are you looking for? That says a lot. This guy said his defense is scheduled in April. Fine, it's key information because if you're a PhD, you won't be available during, just before the defense. And it says also you'll be fully available to start a new job, like in May, in instance for this guy. So that's key information to really have on the top. In terms of structure, we've put first the education, then the professional experiences, and then the publication and conferences. What we advise is probably a third of the CV should be about your skills. So this is, and having only the professional experience is not enough. You really need to have a dedicated piece about your skills. In this case, the skills are on the left. Why? Because when when people read a piece of paper, they read from the left to the right. That's an eye-catching trick. So basically, the skills are going to be seen straight away, and then the recruiter will see straight away if this candidate fits what she's looking for, what he is looking for. So that's very important. And within the skill set, highlight key components. Like this guy is saying the scientific information, and then he's saying what's the R&D piece and project management, whatever that is, but put that in, very structured way so that it's eye-catching information. About the education now. So in this case, the education is first because as you have a PhD, it's really the key things. It's your highest diploma, and you want to have that on the top. Not only the diploma, you can have the subject of your diploma, the domain, the theme, and the university you've been working with. And then for the education, it starts from the latest, so today, to towards the past. Same for the professional experience. You always have on top the latest experience. Your thesis, for us, it's an experience. It's not in the education is just the title. And then in the professional experience, you can explain and detail what you've studied during the thesis. So it's not only the subject, the theme of the thesis, but you can say the various projects you've been through, what you've learned and how, with who you've worked with, or don't hesitate to have really precise information there. The dates, please make sure that the dates are correct, and the title I've talked, and yeah. And then once you've done the thesis, then of course, before the thesis, you had a master, probably a research master, an internship, 6 months within a company. That also needs to be there, and you can detail. If you find out that your CV doesn't fit into one page because you've actually had lots of projects, lots of several internships and experience within companies, then you've got your publications at the end, it's fine to be on 2 pages. I know it's very fashionable to say everything needs to be on 1 page, but basically publication and conferences, that can be on the side. Lots of things can be on the second page as well. This is fine when you have this level of study. So absolutely no issue with that. Didn't talk about the photo. You can see that on these examples, we've put a photo there on the top right. It's up to you. If you're comfortable to have a photo, you can have it. If you're uncomfortable, don't have it. The advice here is if you put a photo, it needs to be a very professional one. It needs to be obviously just the face, and it needs to express, the way you want to look when you're going to be working, basically. So it's not too casual one. What we advise at the top of the CV, we've said you have the title of who you are. You can have a few lines that describes yourself. Basically, we will see later in the interview, you will be asked to introduce yourself and you will have 3-5 minutes to tell, the key highlights. But the 3 lines on the top, it's very important because it tells us how you see yourself, how you want to introduce what's, in your view, what's important from your profile, from your experiences. So that's really, really important. What else? Okay. Key information. I don't know if you've probably been told that already by others, but recruiters are spending like less than a minute to look at a CV. When we do our search, we use keywords. So your profile is going to come up in our search. We're going to see your CV. We are in 1 minute. We need to see if you fit what we're looking for. So that's to be kept in mind. This is why the structure is important, so we know where to look at it. You attract the eyes to the right part of the CV, and you can also, of course, use the bold characters. Anything in bold will stand out, and this is what you want the recruiter not to miss in this 1 minute. Is the recruiter at first is not going to look at details. If you, with the bold characters and the structure, attract the attention, catch the eye, then the recruiter will spend more time and look into the details and go further. But the eye catching is, once again, very, very important. So once again, this is what we've seen from our experience on the French market. I've been working in the past in the UK market or US market, German market. There are sort of different rules. So I don't know if you have any body from Germany on the call here, but I know in Germany the rules is you have a big photo because that's really what the rules are. In the UK, there's probably no photo. Nobody cares, and you don't have to put the photo. In France, it's more up to you. Everything is acceptable. It's what you're comfortable with. So that's a few tricks. So why I'm saying that is, keep in mind that what I'm saying is not the perfect CV, is what we've experienced with our experience, but things can be adapted according to what you have to say as well. Like in this past, they've put interest. Interest, I've always thought, why would I put anything of interest in there? It's actually quite key when you have a PhD to say what you're passionate about. So, for example, if we're looking someone that's in what's very popular these days in robotics, my client always said, well, I want to make sure that the candidate or the person I'm going to hire is really passionate about robots. And the key things for us is then to look at the little underline saying, has he be part of a club, during his study to play with robots, to do things with robots. So you need to think this part there, it's not just something about what do I like to do on my private dates, what do I like to do, but still in relation that would bring something to what I'm looking for. So I want to say that information to my future manager because that's who I am. That's really in me. I like climbing, so I need to go and have challenge to go on a mountain. This type of information, really important. Okay, so that's all I needed to say about the CV. The next deliverable that you need to think of is your what we call the Ereputation. So how are you going to be seen by the recruiters? Not us, because we will see your CV first, but then as soon as we've selected the CV, we're going to go on Google, type your name, and then what comes up? What has this person done outside the study? So what are we going to see? We're going to see, of course, your LinkedIn profile. Maybe we go first to the LinkedIn profile anyway. What we're looking on the Google thing is, do you have any addition? We're going to go to the thesis.fr as mandatory things. We're going to check that which university, we're going to try to gather additional information that are not on the CV that could be of interest to us before we're going to talk to you. So we're going to thesis.fr. So make sure you register there. Make sure you have a description. I see too many times. I can find the PhD grades on the system inside the database, but very limited information. Even if it's only in English or only in French, doesn't matter. But if you have the description there, it's very useful information for everybody. ResearchGate, if you're there, great. If you have a GitHub, our clients love GitHub profiles. If you have one, this is information that can be on your CV. You can have your link. You can have, when you've got how to contact me, you can have your LinkedIn link there because the client could contact you through LinkedIn, and you could have your GitHub as well, because then you can show what you've been doing in terms that will come in addition to your technical skills. So, but to come back to the Ereputation, so we've talked about the ResearchGate and TES. Of course, you've got the Alumni. Nouran has been talking about it. They're very powerful source of information for us because we publish our jobs in these on their website, and there's lots of additional information there. Please make sure you go there too. This is key for us to find you. Social media, Twitter. We don't really use Twitter. I know it's there. Some people are using Twitter. See what people are communicating about. This is a little bit of a trend. Not everybody does, but if you're a Twitter fan, make sure that what you publish on Twitter, remember it's going to be seen potentially. So of course, we've got the job platform, we've got the ABG and APEC. Bernard Association, ABG is Association Bernard Gregory, probably all know that, but it's really a place where you can also have information. I still do things you need to have very similar information on most of the platforms, right? And of course, LinkedIn. I'm going to finish with that because LinkedIn is really our main tool as a recruiter. This is how we do our we do our search. As you know, we've got keywords. So the client is going to say, I want this ideal candidate that's going to join my company. He needs to have this and this, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, technical skills, soft skills, whatever. And he needs to have experience in this field, not this one. And they can be very, very precise sometimes. So we go to LinkedIn and we spend time on LinkedIn. So for us, LinkedIn is even before the CV. It's what we see. And we approach candidates using what we see on LinkedIn. So you need to make sure that on that profile, you fill in all the sections. We need to see your skills, the keywords on your skill sets, very important. the way you introduce yourself, these few lines, 4 or 5 lines, very important to us. The other components, it's basically the CV, right? It can be lighter than the CV, of course, but you need to have the main key highlights. Last point, activate the open to work option. As a recruiter, we do contact candidates that have forgotten to put that on. Just really gentle approach saying, are you interested to talk with us? We've got this opportunity. We're available if you want at your leisure to discuss. So even if it's not on, you know, you may get contacted by recruiters, but it's cleaner and it's more obvious if that's activated. So that's very important. So to summarize what I've said here on the CV and the internet, another point I've not talked about, it's very, I saw a post on LinkedIn last week, it's the ma thèse en 180 secondes. It's something we look at. So it's on YouTube. If you've done that, if it's there, please mention it, because then we can go, and before we talk to you, we can already have it. If you do that exercise, ma thèse en 180 secondes, it's a very nice way to present yourself when you talk to HR people, because too often we see candidates that are going too much in details for us when we're not skilled enough to understand. It's very nice because very interesting to understand what you're doing, but sometimes we miss like half of it. So very key to make sure that you can say what you've researched in a very comprehensible way for most of the people. Keep in mind, internet has memory, so whatever you're posting will be seen in a few years, even what's in the universities or, you know, anything. And last, build your network. That's very important to be seen. It's to contact, like we're talking today. You're welcome to add me in your network. I will happily accept you. It's to be seen. You need the biggest network you have on LinkedIn. The more you'll be seen by everybody, and the more chance you will be contacted for a job opportunity. So keeping in mind it's how you're going to be perceived by the recruiters. So I think that's about it for me about this first part, about the deliverables. Maybe we can do a pause now if anybody has any specific questions about these 2 points, these 2 deliverables.
No question in the chat right
No
now,
questions?
but feel free
Okay.
to ask your questions. Don't be shy.
Anthony, points well noted. Okay, thank you. Okay, so no specific questions. Okay. Okay. So I'll keep going then. The next step is define a search strategy. So basically what we say, what I said earlier is you need to take time to understand what you're looking for to select the right opportunities. You need to know what you're looking for. So the first thing you have to put on a paper and think about is who you are. Do a portrait of yourself, your technical skills, the way you like to work, you know, try to understand really and put like a list on the side to define who you are. This is very important. Then you can identify in which field you want to work. So basically, it's like a funnel. I would say. So basically, what's the industry of your choice, where you want to work, your ideal job, in which industry? And that's the top of the funnel. And then what are the values, what values do you have and you want the company to carry? And then you will select the companies within that field that have that carry the same values as you. And then you need to put you forward in that company, and what type of job will you want within that company, and you need to make sure that this is a good fit, a good match with your skill set. If your key job is not what it doesn't ask for the skills that you've put on your CV, for example, then there is an issue there. So you need to go back and, do the exercise again. As I forgot to say, you probably need to have one CV that really represents yourself, that will fit all the jobs you're going to apply to. And then you can do minor changes, but the key main things on the CV needs to reflect yourself. So our advice is really have just one that you just that fits what you're looking for. The other thing you need to think very carefully is where you want to work. Obviously there is Paris, but there's a big hub in Paris, so lots of opportunities in Paris. But more and more, we see lots of opportunities in big cities around France, or even small cities. So some are in the north, Brittany, south of France. You need to you have your university, so this is where you spend the last 3-4 years, maybe more, if you had the master at the same place. Do you want to stay in that region, or are you open to go somewhere else? Maybe your family is in a different region. Maybe you want to go to Paris or not. We see opportunities, like I'm always saying, we're really proud to add a client that was in Brittany, in a tiny village facing the sea, and it was a very niche company working on the energy and what goes around the energy, and they were looking for the PhD. So our first reaction when we talk to that client, we say, oh, we're not sure we're going to be able to attract someone to come in, this tiny village that was like 100 kilometers from any really some sort of mid-sized city. And we found one because that was a lovely lady, and she actually had a family not far from another village, and she was really happy to go back with her PhD in that domain, go back into that place. So this sort of very nice story for us, it's very nice to hear, and we're always pleased to do to help in these situations. So think about the mobility. Too often we see candidates that apply to jobs in Paris. They go through the interviews, 4, 5 interviews sometimes, and they have to prepare, so they take lots of time, and they get the offer, and then they say, oh no, I won't be able to stay in Paris. I don't want that job. And it's a shame, because you've spent all this energy and all this time to realize that ideally this is something you could have found out a lot earlier in the process. So think about it. So that's the companies and the position and the geography. You need also you can start what we say is you can start your strategy probably like 6 months before you really want to look for a job. So your first year in the thesis, you're welcome to start thinking, to understand what's ahead of you. Is that going to be an opportunity for you to go towards the private sector? Or is it an alternative? Or you know, maybe you want to pursue your academic career and go towards a postdoc and this type of career. So it's good at the start to understand what's in front of you, what's there, what's exist. And then you can, you know, looking for the field, the companies, try to understand what are your values, build your network slowly, but really start the process to apply to jobs. It's probably 6 months before the defense. But it has to be when you're also comfortable and when you have time. So it's from 6 months ahead, you can think about it, and then you have to give your papers, so that's really time consuming. You don't have much time to figure out what to do in that space. But once your paper is delivered and the members are reviewing it, then you need to move on to the next phase. Then this is when you can really fully apply, fully start your strategy. Another key criteria that's important is the balance you want to have between your work and your personal life. This is a question that people will ask you, and this is part of the values of the company. And this is, you can see that very obviously, but when you look at the website of a company to see if you're really interested in that company, you will see what they say about the culture and what they do to make sure that all the employees are really have a well-balanced life. This is really something that's very important these days. Companies are open to it. In my own company, for example, FE Group, they've just decided that we're going to work 4 days and a half. So we're going to keep everything the same, but all the Friday afternoon will be off. So that's very innovative, but we see more and more company. Good morning, Diallo. Welcome. More and more companies are really happy to see to put in place environment within the offices to make everybody really comfortable. More and more allow the work from home. Full remote, it's still very rare. We can see more and more companies willing to have minimum 1 day and very often between 2 to 3 days in the office. And they want to, and the most reason of that is probably the willing to have all the employees knowing each other, working better with each other, and having a better fit, basically. So I've talked about all the criteria and all the things you can think about, but this is just ideas. Of course, don't put too many criteria because you can reduce yourself to such a niche that you won't find anything. So you can have your list of criteria, you can prioritize them, and then you can open up your network. So let's say you want to work around Besançon, and then you look what's around there, and then you open up to see what's around and what you may be missing if you open up one criteria. Just make sure you open up a criteria that you can, that still fits what you're looking for. Okay, so that's it. Now, how to find, now that you define what you were looking for, the last step is how to find the offers. So I've said the recruiters will find you on LinkedIn. So if you build your network, if you start to connect, we will connect you. I've put here a few job boards that are specific to your field. So APEC, there are more and more jobs arriving on APEC, LinkedIn obviously, and Monsters and the others there probably a little bit less, but they do have PhD jobs there. Of course, any recruitment companies, if you've targeted the companies like we've talked earlier, of course, you go to the website, you can do, you can apply for any jobs. If there is any jobs, you can find the person who's charged on recruiting within the company and email the person and this type of information. That's really everybody should get a reply doing that. Of course, we talked about it, the university website. Like we said, we are publishing our offers on our own website, of course, FEMAT. We've got LinkedIn where we promote the key hottest jobs, but we also put our jobs on the alumni website. So if you go there, you will find as well these jobs. And it's a very nice way to be in contact with us. Adum, RedoxP. RedoxP is something, I don't know if in your university you know this one, but they're trying to gather a big network. It's arranged by skill set, and it's starting to be quite impressive. The tip that we put there is very precise information to let you know how we're going to look for you. Basically, when we look for a PhD, we used PhD in all sorts of shapes. So PhD in one word, PhD, we said doctor. We use English words, we use French words, R&D, research, and then we always associate that with the key skill set we're looking for. So I mentioned it could be AI, could be robotics, could be we've got energy, we've got sustainable, very green energy and the sustainability environment. That's really lots of roles there as well. So that's how we look. Okay. And now that you've got the market, you've seen all the various jobs available, you want to create your own opportunity. So open applications. That's a very, we do encourage you to go towards open application if you don't see a website, a job on the on any of these websites. You need to think that we are a small agency, right? But we are dedicated to the R&D environment in France, and we get about 4 jobs every month. So it's you start now and you don't find your job. Maybe next week we've got another one that fits you. So what I'm saying by that is, don't feel ashamed to send your CV up front. You don't see a job that fits you, but you want us to help you and you want to be seen, then send us your CV and talk to us. Contact us on LinkedIn. But more likely, this section is made about company mapping. So that's about the funnel I talked earlier. You know, make the list of all the companies that interest you, and you can select a lot of them and reach out, you know, take the one top of your list. Reach out in your network that you've built during your thesis or that you start to build now. Is anybody working in this company that you may know? Anybody in the university, any teachers that has been, you know, in touch with this company, anybody that done an internship, whatever. Try to find inside information from your network. Then, of course, on the social media, like we said, you know, you will find information on how this company is promoting itself. What are their posts? What are they doing? Which conference are they participating? What are their publications? What are they doing? What are their clients? Are they on Twitter? What are they saying on Twitter? Go on their website, obviously, because that's the main, it should be before actually, but it's basically on the website. This is where you're going to send your application, or on LinkedIn, you can send your CV to the HR person or directly to the business manager. You've identified a department, you know, the R&D director, say you would love to work in that department. You know, this department is managed by Mr. X. It's no harm to contact him directly and send your CV. Is, you know, worst case, he doesn't see it, doesn't reply. Best case, he sees you and he replies. So, and it's still, even if he doesn't see you or doesn't have time to talk to you, he may forward your CV to the HR department and then start the process. So all these things are valuable for you. And of course, if during your thesis, so you do publications, but we see you doing lots of conferences. During the conferences, stop by the booth of any companies. Go and talk to these other speakers that are the same conference as you, and get some tips. You know what they're looking for. Make yourself known and seen by these business managers. And then there is the application. And so, what am I saying on the application? We've seen the CV, and then that's the application letter. This application letter in France, it's not mandatory anymore. Very often, you can replace your application letter by an email, like, or if you write on LinkedIn, you can just use the email as a way to approach and add information that are not on your CV. The application letter, sometimes it's asked, it's mandatory. Please do it. In that case, if it's not mandatory, you're still welcome to send one, but don't. Although I said the CV, you can have one CV, that's one for everybody. The application letter, it's definitely not one for all. It needs to be very specific, and you need to take time. It takes time to build a good CV. It takes time to build a very good application letter. Make sure it's personalized. That's of course, right? So you send the application letter to either the business manager, but you don't say to the business manager. You say to Monsieur X. You've identified he's the manager. That's, you know, managing the R&D department, and you write to him. So you find his name. If you're writing to him on an email, you find his email, but it's really a dedicated letter. You don't put again what's on your CV. This is not necessary, because the person has read your CV, you know, can see, you know, from your level A up to your PhD, seen your progression, see that you stopped between your between the two masters, and you had you know, an experience within a company, and then decided to go back to do research with a master de recherche, a research master, and then a PhD. Or you've been straightforward, you knew from the beginning you wanted to be in research. So everybody has a different path to where you are, but that's very much seen in the CV. What you add here, it's things that add value for the match between yourself and the job you're applying to. So your CV has been a little bit more generic, and here you will say, this is why I'm applying, and this is why I'm the best candidate, and this is why it's key you spend time to just talk to me. That's what you tell the business manager or the HR department. Be straightforward. The application letter, definitely on one page. It's not an academic CV. It's not, you know, it's really very precise. It's you it's you basically you can see on this application later there's 3 components, 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is about the company, the second paragraph is about yourself, and the third paragraph is about how these 2 words are going to match and work together for the long term. Keep in mind that when the company is going to look for you, they're not going to look for you just for 1 year or 1 project or 1 mission. Companies are recruiting PhDs to do research applied to a very specific problems. But when you're in a company, you just have 1 problem, you solve it, then there is another one, then there is another one. So you keep, you're still in the same role, answering real problems, but you're that on the long term. You're doing that on the long term. You're in for with the company for maybe 5 years, maybe more, and you need to be able to see yourself in the long term, and that's what you can express in some ways in there. Yeah. Make sure it represents yourself. Don't use ChatGPT or any of these. Make sure that this is really yourself, that you've really thought forward, you've looked at the website, you understand their values, it matches yours, you've seen how the company is communicating internally, outside, on the outside world, and yeah, you do something really really personalized. Direct contact. Well, I've talked a little bit already about that. So LinkedIn, no problem. You go for it. Emails, very good starting point as well. There's a slight chance you may go to spam, but if you don't do too many of them, you will reach the person. So get in touch. It's actually not difficult. You can guess the email. If you go on the website, it's not very difficult to find what the standard format for an email within a company. So don't hesitate to do that. Of course, if you do an open application, put all the documents that you want in there. So your thesis abstract, why not? It's no harm. You can have sometimes some clients do ask that, by the way. We've got the CV, the 2-page CV, and sometimes the client says, is there any academic CV? The CV that on 8, 10 pages where it's really well described. You're welcome to add that. Some R&D director are really fond of reading these. The list of publication conferences, that's mandatory on each CV. They really do that. Recommendation letter, you can. I'm usually, it's up to you. I really like to keep them for a later stage. I don't think you need to throw all your dice in the first shot. I think you can keep that. If you're, I don't know if out of the people today, some students from master looking for a test CIFRE are listening, but for those, basically, the company will want to see the results from the master. What course you've been studying, and what have you passed, and what was the comments. I've talked about LinkedIn enough, I think. So go on LinkedIn, chat with the people, interact, post on your profile. You're doing something key during your thesis, you can communicate about it, post, no harm at all. And it's good to be seen. It's a good way to attract attention and to be seen. Okay, so that's it for our details of, yeah, it's a good time to ask questions. I've finished that section. So before we go on the interview stage, I'm happy to answer a few questions. So this one was about the referees on the CV. My answer to that is no. My answer to that is no. On the CV, you can say referees are available on demand, but I don't think you need to put that straight away on your CV. Main reason is you don't want your referees to be contacted by anybody for no reason. You want your referee to be contacted when you've talked to the person that's offered you a job and you're really keen, you want that job, and the person says, okay, you know, can I have a referee? Can I talk to some people that have worked with you during your thesis or can talk to me about it? Then makes sense. And then you say, yeah, okay, he's my referee, and then you can inform your referee that potentially he's going to get a call, and you know, you don't say questions, but okay, so that's so particularly for me, what kind of advice can you give me to benefit from my doctorate, because I'm already assistant teacher in my country in Guinea? Okay, so you're an assistant. Okay, I'm not sure how to answer that, but basically, teaching experience, it's part of the professional experience you have. So at the ATER, it's called in French, that's the acronym, it's experience. Why is it important? Because it says that you know how to talk to people and to explain to them how to talk about difficult and complex subjects. So in some jobs, you will have to manage students or other engineers. So you know, the teaching experience could be useful here. Okay, I've got another one here. Gisela, how could I put in the CV or LinkedIn about my PhD? I mean, my occupation during this time of PhD. Okay, but that's a very good question. So on the CV, like I said, the education, it's the title. So the title is, I've done a PhD in I'm using the same examples again, sorry, because it's in my mind. Robotics. I've done my PhD in robotics within Université UBFC, and then I've started my thesis in September 2020, and you know, and that's it. There's no end date because you don't have your defense yet. And then in the next structure about the professional experience, then in that case, you say studying, oh, you got me. I say it in French, but not in English. Doctorat, but studying my PhD, and then during this professional experience, you detailed what you're doing. So at ER, it's part of an experience. During my PhD, I've done. I'm an assistant professor teaching these classes, and I've also the first bullet point is not your teaching point. The first bullet point of your professional experience is the subject of your thesis. What are you researching? So what are your state of the art? What was it about? What are the problems you're going to solve with your research? So that's the first bullet point in your professional experience. And then you can have teaching assistant, and then whatever any project you've been doing on the side. If you're doing your PhD, you also do some short-term missions for other companies just to earn some money, or because that was a great opportunity for you. This is also where you put that. Have I answered, Gisela?
We have two more questions.
More.
Do you want me to read them for you?
I can read them actually. I've got
question by
Mustafa.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mustafa and Aurore.
Okay, so Mustafa, what should I write in the first paragraph of the application letter about the company? What do you mean? Okay, the first, it's you're writing to this company because there's a reason why you're writing for this company. What has attracted you? Why do you say, why are you writing to them? Why this company and not another one? So you need to, on their website, you cannot just say, because I want to work in that industry, because he has competitors, but you can say, because you're the leader of that industry, or you can say a project that they've seen, or communication, whatever, that something that has attracted your attention and differentiate from any other company? Have I answered? Okay. Next
And
one,
there
so
is,
from Aurore.
yes, Aurore.
Okay, Aurore. Okay, how can I put a double profile on my CV? I have a PhD in history, but before that I was a project manager in the university administration. But okay, so once again, on the education, so the first line is your PhD, that's your latest diploma. And then below the diploma, you had a master. And you have then that second line is a master or second date, and then so on, you going backwards. And then the next structure is your professional experience. The first experience on the top of this structure is your PhD, what you've studied in history, and that's fun, and you explain that. And then the next date is your project manager in the university administration, and you treat that as a professional experience. What was the project about? And then on your skill set, you can add, definitely in your case, project management is really one of your key skills that you can put in your highlight technical skills. Okay, so any other questions from Aurore? Okay, it's clear. Cool. Okay. Okay, so let me move that. Okay, so the next, so we've got 1 hour, so I'm good there. So the next stage, it's basically let me just make sure. The other thing I've not talked about on this page there, on the direct contact, very often we have the question of, okay, I've sent my CV, I don't hear anything from anybody. Should I chase the person? How often should I send a second message? So it's super fine to do a follow-up. Don't do a follow-up the next day. Allow, I don't know, 2 weeks maybe, you know. You need to keep in mind that a recruiter is receiving lots of CVs, has lots of looking at lots of CVs to find the best candidate. If you're not contacted straight away, it's probably because there is not a good fit with the current search of that recruiter. So then you can wait. If you apply to a job, so you know you're a good fit, probably the recruiter has lots of applications. So he will come back to you in a timely manner. At FEMatch, we always come back to each candidate. If there is not a good match, if there's something missing that is not obvious on the job description, but we know that the client wants that, we always go back and we say, sorry, you know, there is a mismatch because you're missing this piece of information, or in a more positive way, we contact you saying, actually, thank you for sending your profile. We'd like to talk to you, but before, we'd like to understand if you've got this type of experience, and we ask you to give us more detail in addition to what we see on the CV. So that's important. We always go back to candidates. If you see that after 2 weeks, you have still no reply, you're welcome to a follow-up. This is really, it shows that you're really motivated for the job. You can send if you apply for a job on the website, you can still apply for a job and send an email at the same time. There is no problem to do this double strategy. Don't send daily emails or don't follow up, too often, because that's, really annoying. And then if you're not getting an answer on the first one, it's because the person needs time to answer. So give them some time. Okay, so going back to interview basics. So now you've done your CV, you've done your network, you've worked on it, you have applied to your ideal job, and you got a positive reply. That's it. You're on the final stage of this 3 steps process. But it's a key one, and it's not because you're in the interview stage that you're going to get the job, because you're not the only one. For one job, there is a minimum of 4 or 5 candidates that are going to go through the interview. Always. You know, from 15 years of my job, very rare the first candidate get a job. It's a perfect match, perfect fit, and you know, the client doesn't want to see other candidates. Very, very rare. So you need to work on the interview. Getting an interview, although it's a very good point, because it says a lot. It says, so far, with what the company has seen of yourself from your CV, from your interaction on LinkedIn, from your publications, from whatever was available on the net, that there is a good match. There is a good fit, potentially, with what the company is looking for. And they just want to fine-tune, adjust, really understand what was your research about, understand how you did your research, how do you like to work, and these type of things. So basically, the recruiter, when he's asking for an interview, is asking for additional information, what's not written on your CV, and he's going to give you information that are not written on the job description. So it's a two-way interaction. It's not only you getting the information, it's the company getting the information too, but both ways. That means at the end of the first interview, you will have learned more about the company, about what they're looking for, about, you know, their vision and where they want to be in 5, 10 years time, and the real life. And you can say, oh, sorry, changed my mind. I didn't understand that. Now it's clear. It's not for me. And then you stop. You're welcome to stop at any stage of the interviews. How many interviews are going to go through? Once again, it's not, it's the average that we see when we present PhD grades to our clients. Sometimes the first interview and the second interview is the same test, the same day, all in one shot. And then the third one is, you know, making an offer. So sometimes it's very short. But sometimes it's 1, 2, 3, sometimes it's 4 interviews. So what are these interviews? The first one, it's about your motivation. Get acquainted. It's the recruiter, me, my colleague. We are 4 recruiters at FEMatch. Or if you apply directly to a company, it's the HR department, HR assistant or HR director, whatever. What they're looking for. Basically, they want to know who you are. How do you introduce yourself? How do you communicate? What are your values? Very important, your values. What are you passionate about? What makes you get up in the morning to go and do something? That's what they're looking for. Really, and then to understand why you've picked up this company. Why have you picked up my company? What am I doing today that has raised interest in you, and that will make sure that, you know, every morning you'll be so passionate and so happy to come to work, because that's what people want. People want happy people at work. So that's the job of the HR department. Sometimes this interview is not the first one. Sometimes some clients say, no, we just want to have the business manager first. So the person that's going to manage you, that's what the one we've put in the second interview, the compatibility test. It's your technical skills. And basically the manager compatibility test means it's not only technical, right? The business manager is going to talk to you. He also wants to understand if he can work with you. So he's got a way of working. He's managing his team this way. Are you going to fit into the way he's managing his team? Do you want to work as a team, or are you happy to work alone and have not much management? What's your style? How are you communicating? So that's key for them. The business manager sometimes, not all of them, but they add some very technical questions, and they read the CV and they know what they're doing, and they will deep straight away into a very technical point, saying, what about this situation? How would you resolve that? And it's a situation that it's part of your thesis, but the idea is it's not an online test or anything like that. It's more to understand how deep you've been in your thesis versus what they're doing right now in the company, and does it match? And most of the time, it's really a discussion saying, this is the way we do it, and what do you think? And it's very informal. It's the business manager usually is really trying to make the candidate comfortable to see if they're going to be able to work together. So that's very key. Sometimes it's in only one interview, and you have the business manager, and sometimes he asks for, some of them do ask for online test before, and then during this technical interview, they do talk about the results of the test. Sometimes the test comes after, and there is another informal discussion after the test. There is also steps there that we've not highlighted as separate. It's meeting the team. So when the interview is face-to-face in a company, it's obviously the same day. So you meet the manager, and then you meet the team, and you see how they work and all that. If you're doing the webinar or the online interview with a recruiter, with a business manager, it's sometimes they're allowed to be the first, compatibility can be online, doesn't have to be face to face. Then in that case, there has to be another time when you've done the HR, you've done the business manager, you need to come on site to see that first. How is the office? How are they working together? Who will be my colleagues? How do that work? And then will be an on-site discussion. And then the final one. Is generally the general manager. So it's the person that's going to give you the vision. Need to keep in mind, the company is not going to hire you just for 1 year, like I said, or 2 years. They want to hire you for the long term. They want to make sure you'll be happy with the company, you're part of the project, you're building something with them. And the general manager is the one you can go back to your application later, talk about, the vision. What are you going to bring to the world, or where is the company going to be in 5 years? How do you want to expand? Do you want to go international? Do you want to stay in France? Or, what's the deal there? So this is very very important. And at the end of this one, and you can obviously during that interview express what you want. Where do you want to be in 5 years? You're coming into this first job, so that's the position you're going to get. But how do you want to evolve? What's your ambition? Do you want to manage people, more bigger team, or do you want to stay on a professional path? So you need to prepare these things. Okay. Now, when you've done these, so that's basically the main structure we've seen in France. You're welcome to ask as soon as you been selected by a company or by a recruiter, to ask how long is the process and what are the steps. And the process will be defined. The recruiter, our job when we talk to our clients before we start a search, we do ask what the process, how do you want to make that work? Is it online? Is it on site? How many people are they going to be involved and give their opinion about the candidate? So we know that information. So if the recruiter doesn't tell you straight away, you're welcome to ask. And if you apply directly, the first person you talk to, part of the question is you can ask, how long is the process going to be? How many people am I going to meet? And you're welcome to, during the process, if, at the end of the process, you're feeling like you've missed something, or you would like more information or another step, you're welcome to ask that. I just had the case last week. The general manager said, okay, I'm ready to make an offer. Are you ready to hear my offer to the candidate? And the candidate said, no, actually, I've not visited the office yet because he was not on site. He needed, was too far for him to come. But the general manager didn't need the on-site visit, but the candidate did need. And he said, no, actually, I'd like to come on site to visit your office and how the R&D department is and what are, all the all the tools around. So and then that was fine. And then they said, yeah, okay, let's organize it this week, and then the offer will be after that, if the candidate is still interested, passionate about the job. So keep in mind, it's really always both ways. Tips to succeed. Okay, training. Yes. Basically, you don't go to an interview without being prepared. That's what we say. It's like if you go and try to play tennis, or play anything, go to a football match or go to dancing, you need to prepare yourself. You need to, start. So the key, for the interview, we say there's like 4 key things. Prepare a presentation pitch. I've talked about it already. It needs to be on the CV, it needs to be on LinkedIn, but it's written. Online, when you go to your first interview, like 99.9% of the time, you're going to be asked to present yourself. Or anyway, naturally, you say, hi, madam, and hi, mister, and then you introduce yourself. You need to have one that's minimum 5 minutes. Some recruiters like me are very often say, please take your time, introduce yourself like in 10 minutes. And so it's anything between there. And it's a mix of what's in the CV, what's your path, why are you here today? What has been your path to arrive to that day? And what's your motivation to be here today? What are your drivers? And train yourself to be natural. That's really important. Don't read a paper. But if you want site face to face to someone, you can't read a paper anyway. So try to be natural. Keep in mind the key, 5 points you want to tell during these short pitch, and do it. That's why ma thèse en 180 secondes is again sometimes very good. If you're allowed to do like a 10-minute pitch or more than 5 minutes, you can have 3 minutes on just your thesis. That's really good. Your thesis, very important. Once again, you don't have to talk about it unless you're prompted to do it. It's up to you, but be ready to have it. And along the interviews, guarantee as a minimum, the manager and the general manager will ask you about your thesis and, how do you see the future of the problem you've been working on? How, how these are going to evolve. Forecast. That's a lot. That's what the preparation is a lot about. You've done your research on the website, you know why you've applied to the company. Before you go to the interview, you know the name of the person you're going to meet. Make sure that you look at the profile of the person. You understand is the person a PhD or not? if it's not a PhD, you won't be able to go deep in details as you're going to go if you're in front of someone that's done a similar PhD to yourself. And prepare as well according to what the person's job is. So if you're in front of the business manager, don't ask any questions like what's my salary or what's my holidays. These are questions anyway that are not a good fit for the first interviews. But target your questions to the job, the person you're in front. Will be able to answer. Otherwise, most of them say, look, it's not my job to give you any information on this subject, so wait for the next interview and ask the question again. But it's always good to prepare some questions because it shows that you have interest into the company. You've said on the letter that you have interest in the company, but if you have no questions, then something's wrong, because highly likely the person in front of you has not answered everything. So be prepared. Try to add a few key points, and don't hesitate when the person in front of you explains something to ask for more details. It's really an interview doesn't mean one question, one answer. It can be very often discussion these days, very informal. More and more people are looking for. Of course, it depends on people, right? But more and more people are doing that. Q&A conversations. He's talking about salary. I mean, maybe I can talk about that one straight away because look, how does one answer the question, what is your salary expectations? Yeah, that's the salary expectation. We always ask because as a recruiter, the company has given us a budget. Because keep in mind, we know very well, because our consulting firm is about that the company can get credited back for some of the cost when they hire a graduate, a PhD grads. But the company has also other employees already employed, and they've got a set of salaries, and they can't just do a salary that is completely out of scope with the other employees. So they need to have sort of a rational within the company. So that's one point. The second point is the company, will get some credit back for the first 2 years, but then not in the future. And as I said, the company is hiring you for the future as well. So they want to make sure that it makes sense, on the long term. So to answer about, as a recruiter, we do ask, what's your salary expectation? Because we put that information on the assessment that we're going to send to our client. To our client, we're going to send a CV and the self-assessment that we've made, talking to you as a candidate, including what your expectation is. And we, if the salary is outside the what the company told us, it doesn't really matter. We still do send your profile, but you have less chance. That's very clear. Some company, it can go a little bit higher because there is some specific points you can highlight that's very good fit with the company, and you'll be very efficient, up and running straight away. So that counts. So just to be clear on this salary expectation. To the context. Salary expectation, it's basically what the people from your university in your field as getting in their first job, is how you understand what the market is for you. And then there is how flexible you are, because you've got the salary and then you've got the project. You may want a project, very interesting project, but the company, they've decided they won't be able to go higher than 45K. That's it. So there's no point to ask for more, because they won't. But you may accept that level because it's the mission is exactly your passion and what you're looking for, and the company atmosphere, and joining that company, it's really seems the right choice for you. So salary expectations, it's really the minimum needs to be what you won't go under. Basically starts at 40, I think, when you're a PhD grad. So how does the candidate, should she give a range? Yeah. No, you're welcome to give a range. You basically, to the recruiter, you do give a range. If you know, and it's very important you understand what's the range around you, because also depending on your field, the range is going to be different. If you're in what's very hot, artificial intelligence or computer vision, that's that specific there, or if you're in blockchain, salary can go very high and companies can go higher. And if it really depends what's around you and what your field of expertise. So you need to find out around you and what people are, and you can say you think the salary range, that you understand it's around that, and then you can say you're flexible, and then you will discuss with the company. And the salary is never going to be discussed upfront. The salary is the last stage. So the company will always first check that there is a good fit with the mission, there is a good fit within the team, and then make an offer. And then that will be up to you to say, yeah, everything fits, but I don't have the salary, I really want more, so that doesn't fit. And then you don't have to take the job. It's not because you've been through the process that you have to take the job. We see that very often. But give a range, yeah, definitely. One of the key questions you're going to be asked always, it's now you're working in the academic world and you've been doing your thesis for 4 years in the academic world. Why do you want to go into the private sector now? What's your motivation? You need to be able to answer that one. That's a very key one. Talking about your CV, I think it was Giselle, there is no bad experience. Whatever experience you have, it's always a good one. You just need to explain why you've done that choice. So, how you've moved from one experience to another one. What was your drivers? Very important. And, if say something that the person in front of you doesn't understand, they will ask the question. So be ready. Why do you go from there to there? And then my last slide, and I'm almost there. Oops. Here we go. Is now scheduled. So now you've been prepared. You've sort of thought of all the magic questions and the tricky questions the recruiter can get you. You got a gap year, you know how to answer it. You've got this teaching experience for a long time, and then you moved back to a thesis. Whatever, you just need to explain why you made these choices, and then you're in front of the person. You're starting your the day, and there is 3 key things to keep in mind. The dress code. So basically, adapt the dress code to. I've got a adapt. Oh, I've got a typo there. Adapt the dress code to the company. Every company is different, so look at the website. Try to understand how they are. In doubt, just look professional. You don't have to have a tie. If you go to your first interview, tie, it's not mandatory these days. There's a few cases where we've seen smart casual, meaning you needed to have a vest. It was more in the finance sector. The finance sector, they tend to be more formal. So you could even go towards the tie. Any other sectors, really, don't go in beach wear, I'm saying that because we've got companies in Sofia Antipolis. We're based in Nice, and some of our companies said sometimes we see candidates and they're really not dressed appropriate. So just a smart, casual, professional, committed, you know, serious. Like when if you have a photo on your website, you know, formal. Pay attention during your interview, and you can train yourself about the general attitude. How are you going to sit like that? You know, like I'm very closed and I'm in my defense. You know, I don't want to communicate much. I'm look like, you know, scared. You need to, you know, try to be relaxed. I know it's sometimes very difficult to be relaxed when you want a job, but try to, you know, think ahead, you know, of anything that can make you, if you usually if you prepare your interview, it's easier to be relaxed. Be on time, don't arrive late. And if you arrive a little bit earlier, then it also helps to be accustomed to the environment. You can see people smiling at you, and it's, you know, it's you put yourself in a better position to be successful in the interview. Part of that is also the way you're going to answer the questions and the way you're going to talk. So you need to talk slowly. Don't rush up. You need to try to say the words, you know, as clearly as possible. Like we're speaking in French, I'm assuming, because your French is not at the top level. So you're welcome to say, you know, you prefer to speak English, but in that case, keep in mind that the person in front of you may not be as fluent as you in English. And in that case, it's even more important to speak slowly. Okay. So we're doing it in English. All the company, or not all, but most of the company, let's say 90% of the company, will like to hear a little bit of French. Very, very rarely we have clients saying only English is fine. They do want some French. But then they're happy when it comes to the technical world and the technical discussions. They fully understand that the candidate is more comfortable in English, and then they switch to English, and that's fine, because anyway, in the research, all the papers, everything is written in English. So, and the partners, and you know, if you go international anyway, you will have sessions in English, so it's fine. Take time to breathe. Don't rush up. I've said that already. Verbal. Choose the right word. Be articulate. So basically, you're not talking to your friend. So make sure that it's a very professional wording that you're using. Very formal. That's very key. Sometimes we see the other way around, people being too relaxed and joking too easily. And it can be fine to joke and to be very relaxed, but you need to judge who you have in front of you. It can be counterproductive. So be careful with that. If you speak French, you don't say tu, for example. You know, in English it's you, so it's very easy. But if you switch to French, you don't say comment allez-vous? You say comment vas-tu? Comment allez-vous? You really keep the vous. That's really important. That's to give you an idea of the formality. And then the person can say at the end of the interview, the second day or whatever, say, oh, but we can say, you know, I had some directors, a deep tech, very nice R&D director, and he was saying, oh, I'm saying to everybody. So very relaxed from the first approach. So you need to judge, but if you don't know, you stay formal, and then the person will tell you how to adapt. In terms of interview, I wanted also to add two things. There are two types of interview. you've got very guided interview, very direct. So the person in front of you has a question, ask it, and you're supposed to answer and to argue and to explain the answers, and you develop your case. And sometimes the interview, it's totally like I've said earlier, present yourself, like very open question. Then in that case, don't talk for half an hour or 20 minutes. You really need to be very concise. So the maximum is 10 minutes. If you don't have any directions, and you feel like you can talk about you've done a lot of things that you want to say straight away, key points, go up to 10 minutes, but that's the maximum. Really don't go over that. Be synthetic. Anyway, what doesn't go into the first, in the first answered questions, you will have opportunities to add questions at the end, or at the end of the interview, if you feel like the interviewer didn't ask some question that would have highlight some key points from that you've seen, just say, by the way, I would like to add that in my experience, we've not talked about that, but I think it's interesting to blah blah. And then you have this time to add the information yourself. Always stay positive. You never know. The interview is finished when you're outside the company. So keep in mind that the interview time is not only when you enter the room, it's when you enter into the building of the company. And don't forget at the end to ask any questions about what's the next stage, how long is it going to take until I hear from you, anything that's important you can ask and you should ask. Okay, that's it for my part. Not really 2 hours, 1 hour, 40 minutes. I don't know if we have any questions. Nouran.
Yes, thank you, Sylvain. We have a question by Anthony, who is asking, today's training is being conducted in English and not French. I'm wondering to what extent will my knowledge in English be beneficial to my job search in France?
Okay, what I've presented, I spoke English, right? But it's the presentation for the French market. So like the keywords I've talked about, like I said, PhD, doctor, we always use English wordings for our research or French words. What I've talked, the tips are the same. What the presentation is really tailored to the French market, to what we see today in the French market. So is that was the question?
We have Karim who is writing in the chat. Anthony, feel free to tell us if Sylvain answered your question.
Yeah, you can open your microphone, by the way, and you can talk to me.
Yes, you can.
Oh, someone arriving.
Oh,
It's a little bit late.
yes. Maybe I can ask you a question, Sylvain, while waiting for other participants' question.
Yeah.
I was wondering what are the most common question asked to candidates? What are the question that they really have to prepare?
We've got the answer from Anthony. Let me put it another way. Will my knowledge in English be beneficial to my job search in France? Okay. Yes, I understand your point. The fact that you speak English, is that a plus for the company that's hiring or not? It is. Most of our clients are looking for candidates that have a minimum level of English. So if you're fluent in English, key, very important. Yeah, but at the same time, you still need to have a little bit of French. right? But no, speaking English is very important. Most of our clients always, are looking for English speaking, because basically the research is most of the time is in English. So if you don't understand English after 4 years of thesis, and how are you going to keep doing research within the company, looking at the website, looking what the competition is doing and all that, if you don't speak English. So yeah, English is really good. English is really good, good thing to have for French companies. So what type of question? So I mentioned earlier, basically, okay, merci. Okay, cool. So key question is basically, and that's the first question I always ask is about the motivation, is why do you want to go and work in the private sector? Why not staying doing research at the university, doing a postdoc? Have you looked at all the options you have? What are your drivers to go into this R&D sector? The R&D sector is really trying hard to attract PhD grads, very hard, and they really want more and more want to welcome you within their team, because of what everything you've done during your PhD can be applied in terms of skill set to answered most of their problems. So they're really keen to get PhD grads to structure the R&D. For those who don't know, those that already have doctors, but they know they can work together, having fresh brain, if I could say, sorry, into the subject. So they really love that. So the first question is that what's your motivation to go into the R&D sector? The second one is why this company? Why have you chosen me? What's the things that makes you what's make you think you're the best candidate for me? So that's another way to put it together. Have you thought through your profile, your skill set, what I'm doing? Why are you the best? Why should I hire you and not the other one? Another question could be, okay, the job is in Lyon. You live in Besançon. Are you sure you've thought through that? You want to come to Lyon? How are you going to organize yourself? What do you think? How this is going to work? Why do you want to come to Lyon? Is it just for the job or for any other reason? These type of things. Yeah, that's a few key questions. And like I said, for the CV, it's whatever is written on the CV, whatever is not written on the CV. If there is a gap year, they're going to say this, well, I can see that, during this year, there's nothing. Why is it nothing? What have you done? You can have a gap year, but you're welcome to put on your gap year the date and saying, I did a worldwide tour. And that shows that you like the challenge, you're curious, your curiosity, and there's nothing wrong. Everybody is allowed to have a time off. I said, I'd done my PhD and then I had enough and I wanted to see, go around, see what's was happening somewhere else. And I did, this worldwide tour, or I went just to the UK, or I went to Singapore, or whatever, or I went to Guinea. This lady that was doing the teaching assistant. So, don't keep anything hidden because anyway, during the interview stage, it will be discovered. So it's better to be prepared, have it written up front or not, but at least be prepared to answer why you've done that.
Okay, thank you. Karim asked a long question. No question in the chat, and we have there another question after. So Karim is asking, at what stage we start putting our experience before our education to attract the attention of the recruiter?
I think if you just graduated from PhD, PhD come first. But it's really up to you. I mean, for me, if you've got your bio, you've got your title saying I'm a doctor in this subject, in this area. And then you've got these 3 lines saying, you know, a little bit more deep, because you can say PhD in AI, but that doesn't say anything, right? It's just far too vague. So then you precise what you're in, and then you can start straight away with your professional experience being what you've studied in your thesis. And then after your professional experience, at the bottom, you put your education. And then publication and conference after that. It's up to you. Up to you. Usually we have the PhD. I mean, the PhD, it's such a high diploma, and you're really hired because of your PhD. It's fine to put the education first.
Okay, thank you. We have 3 other questions in the chat box. Sylvaine, as a recruiter, how often one has succeeded to secure a job here in France when his or her French language level is very poor? Do you have candidates?
Yeah, I've got candidates that don't
that?
speak. Yeah, I've got candidates that don't speak French. We do run interviews in English, and we do the self-assessment, or the assessment in English, and then we write everything, and the CVs in English, and our pieces in English too. It depends. We know. Basically, we know straight away when we talk to the client, when we do our assessment with the client of what he's looking for. We do ask, is the French mandatory? Sometimes it's not, and then that's fine. So I don't know if I can say a percentage, because it would not be relevant for the French market. Will be just my view of you. You know, I'm a small part of the market, but you should not worry too much. It's easier to speak French, because to socialize and to, you know, speak with others, it's always better to speak French, but you can get a job if you don't speak much.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, yeah. But I still encourage to learn French. If you have spare time during your search strategy, go and learn French, you know.
Yes, it will be very useful. We have 2 other questions by the same person. What can you say about the job opening this year compared to the last 5 years? And which area do we have more job opening? How is the market now compared to...
The market is opening. I mean, the companies these days are willing more and more PhD. They are very well aware of the skill set and what the benefits of having a PhD in their team. So we've got more and more demands, research engineer. In terms of area, we've got everything. We've got biology, we've got chemistry, we've got AI, a lot of AI, of course. We've got blockchain arriving, well, that's obviously very new. Robotics is very new. We had lots of robotics in the past months. Computer vision. Yeah, we've got some job in agriculture around, I don't know how you say in English, the méthanisation. So we've got jobs in this area. And you know, robotics can be the drones, can be the cars, can be inside a retail environment, little robots picking up things. So each job is specific. We've got lots of electronicians, mechanics. So loads.
Okay.
Yeah, very, yeah.
Thank you. Another question, what are the difficulty in hiring a PhD candidate for most companies compared to just university graduates?
To someone out of a master. Okay, the reason a company will hire a PhD is because of their capacity to research, basically. A master in research doesn't have the structure, doesn't know how to do the state of the art, doesn't know how to go and find the information, doesn't have the experience of opening a door, closing it because it was the wrong one, and reopening, and the resilience you've built doing your research. Basically, the 3 years of research, so the content of your research is what you're getting hired. So you have lots of knowledge, and that's what you're getting hired. Is it more difficult for them? I guess PhD candidate are the difficulty in the past was because PhD graduates didn't want to come to the R&D sector, and they didn't, open up, and they wanted to do just research. When in a company you're not going to do fundamental research, you're going to do research applied to the problem of the company, and you will have deadlines. The company is dealing with the market, needs to make money, so they need to sell product. So you're in the research department, but still you need to deliver, things that the company will be able to sell. So there's some deadlines that are, I would put the other way around. It's sometimes difficult for the PhD to adapt to the R&D world, to understand that's really R&D apply to real problems, not just in the air.
Okay, thank you. Aurore is asking, is it okay to take notes during the interview?
Why not? Of course. If you're online, of course, because you will going to get information from the person. So it shows that you take interest, and then you can, at the end of the interview, it goes very fast. You're a little bit, under pressure to show the best of yourself. And if you have notes, then you can go back, or the next interview, you can read your notes before the next interview, and, remember a little bit better. So yeah, absolutely no problem to take notes. It shows that you pay attention to the person. So fine.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, Anthony, it's a question for me. Will this training will be validated automatically on Adum? I'm sorry, Anthony, today's training is not part of the doctoral training that we offer with the doctoral mission. It's a training that we add, but it's not part of the doctoral catalog. So you won't be able to validate it. I'm sorry, it's not part of it. Diallo is commenting, for me, being able to use English is an obligation for everyone, either for someone in research because it's the main language. So yes, it's what you said earlier, Sylvaine, yes. We have a question about robotics domain. What are the often requirements from the recruiters and companies in the robotic domain?
No, I can't answer that question because, like I said, we had 3 different requirements for PhD in robotics, and the 3 were different. And that's why we went through the interviews, and now I started to understand why the different type of robotics that you put under the umbrella robotics, and so they're different. It's really case by case. This is why we have interviews with candidates to understand what their specialties are.
Okay. Anthony, I have another question for you. Sylvain, it looks like all the job areas you are mentioning are in the pure or applied science and engineering. What does the private sector or corporate world hold for those of us in the field of language science?
Yeah.
Yes, we haven't spoke
Yeah.
about social sciences and
yeah, it's true, because most of our requirements from clients are scientific opportunities. But we do have a client that's actually a consulting firm that's asking for PhD in social sciences, like people and culture, how things are evolving. So we do have one client that's in social sciences. We had we've got a few, and this is like three requests at the moment. So we do have a few, but it's not as popular as the scientific one. It's true. But we do have some. So please, if anybody is in social science today, no problem to send us the CV. We do have opportunities in that world too.
Okay. Yes, and I think all the advice you've been given today can be applied to a lot of different areas.
Sure.
So it's not only.
Sure. Everything I've said about from the CV stage to how to look for a job to how to go to the interview, whatever industry, whatever field you're in, they all apply. They all apply.
Thank you. Aurore has another question for you. Are doctors in SHS are seen as a good choice by the recruiters, or do they favor doctors in other fields, maybe in more technical fields?
No, we do welcome anybody in our network. We do have opportunities for anybody. The reality is we have more job opportunities for scientific profiles, very specific, but not just that. So no, we welcome everybody in our network. Everybody has, especially these days with all the changes in organization and culture, it's a big world. So yeah, there is a need for SHS, definitely.
Okay, great. We have one question. Could you give us the link or address where to check for job opening application? Yes, I am giving. I'm putting in the chat box the link to FEMatch website and the candidate page, so you can check it out.
You go then linkedin.company/FEMatch. You will be on our pages, and then you will see the latest job offers we have. That it's not all of them because it's a paying thing. So we just rotate our jobs on this page. But if you follow us, then you will see the new ones. You're welcome to contact me directly and to go into my network. And yeah.
Thanks for the links. We have maybe one last question because I see that it's almost noon. One last question. Thank you for your great presentation, Sylvaine.
Thank you.
I have 2 masters in finance and data science after my PhD in economics. How can I emphasize in my CV 2 masters after a PhD?
Very interesting. I will I will do the master. I will do the on the education. It's on the education you do by the latest master you've done, because it's an add-ons to your economics background. So I will put the latest one on top in the education, but maybe in your case, very interesting, you can start with the professional experience on top, and then the professional experience is your PhD. And then the education part is later on, and then that's after. And then in your bio, the 3 lines, you just say that. You say you're an expert in economics with an additional education on finance and data science. And you're welcome to send me your CV, and then we can discuss it if you want.
Thank you, Sylvaine. It was our last question in the chat box, and it's yes, it's already noon, so
yeah, it's good timing. We're going to
very good timing.
Well done,
congratulations. So we are going to end the webinar now. Thanks everyone for your attention and your participation. I hope that now you are more confident in your job search. And big thanks to Sylvaine and FEMatch for holding this webinar today. You will be able to see the video replay in a few days. And there will also be an article on the UBFC Alumni Network. So stay connected, and I wish you a good day, and I hope to see you soon on the Alumni Network and for other events. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.